Hey there, Pauper players. It's Kendra the Maverick Girl again. Uh, Going on to round two. This time it was versus Dinrova Tron, and so let's just kind of get right into it. Hopefully I can remember. Okay, so here I decided to mulligan. Had a no lander. This time in this hand I decided it's a little shaky, but it's okay. Nettle Sentinel and Birchler Rangers is definitely a good hit because they just go off of each other and can generate an absurd amount of mana depending on what you draw. So I saw a Distant Melody on the top and I put it to the bottom. So let's just kind of take it away. Hopefully we can go slow. So I say Shimmering Grotto and kind of assume that might be like a Tron build. I think there's some other decks that run Grotto, but not many. And at that point, that pretty much confirms it's Tron, and I just kind of get started. So you want to attack with the Nettle Sentinel. That's kind of what I did there. Sometimes I forget to do that, just sequencing and whatever. But it's better to attack with the Sentinel and then play your creature to untap. And just cast the Longbow down just so I have it. And end up playing the Huntmaster, which they have the prohibit for. It's just your standard plays here at this point. They're not cracking the Expedition map because they're trying to play, they haven't hit their other piece of Tron yet, so it's not quite worth it. Just attacking, I know I can hit the thing. They want Mystical Teachings and they got the crop rotation, so that way they can Expedition map and complete their Tron. Now, Crusher could be a little tricky to deal with, and that's why at this point I just kind of went Distant Melody and just hope to dump more of my board. I can afford to lose the forest at this point because I have mana dorks in my hand aplenty. And I can't cast anything, unfortunately, off of this Distant Melody, so I'm just kind of doing the best I can with it, given the circumstances. They're going for another Mystical Teachings for Mystical Teachings, which is definitely a real play. And I went and grabbed Pulse Marasa. Now again, I don't mind them, casting all of that. And I put the Longbow on the Nettle Sentinel because I can just keep playing dudes down and keep going in. And they attacked and just kind of scooped, which I think, if I remember correctly, I just thought was kind of funny, kind of weird, because obviously then I just block with a priest, but I can't just go and outright kill them. So, I definitely thought this was a little weird. I definitely remember this now. There was like one or two other games too where I thought like it seemed really odd that they had scooped when they did. Maybe it was because of the time. I totally didn't look, but I think their clock was getting down a bit. So just to kind of cover what I did for sideboard real quick. I took out 2 Elvish Vanguards and a Huntmaster. The reason for that is Vanguard isn't nearly as good in this matchup. Yes, you want to try and get in for damage, but the problem is they're probably going for more along the lines of Moment's Peace and Dinrova Horror. If they did Dinrova Horror, well, you just lost all the counters that you just placed on your Vanguard. Keeping 2 in there is still good to try and get in for some damage, but really, by the time you're actually able to get Vanguard anywhere, either they're fogging you or Dinrova Horror just bounces it back. It's not uncommon for me to cut a Huntmaster or a Distant Melody, just because the 4-drop slot can be a little, tight, and really 3 Huntmasters should be able to just be enough to get there, allowing me to bring in other sideboard materials. And I ended up bringing in 2 Spider Silk Armors to deal with any Electrickeries, as well as Mob Justice to get around all the fogs. So let's kind of just get going. And their clock actually wasn't that bad. Alright, so not trying to go too quick here. So I put a Timber Watch on the top, kept this hand because you can go Elvish Mystic into other things. You can go, if there was a land on top, then you could probably just go Birchlow Rangers and all that. I think my game plan here was to do more of Sylvan Ranger and get a Forest to get, and then play Birchlow Rangers, maybe play another 1-drop if I'm able to, but I don't think so. Normally when you play Sylvan Ranger, you want to get the island, but when it's this early, it was actually the better play to get the Forest. Alright, so here, Spider Silk Armor. Because you don't want to get hit by a blowout on Electrickery, even if you have the better kind of board state overall here. And then seeing no counters with anything, so looks okay. Now this game actually goes very, very long. Spoiler alert. Because they start chaining fogs like crazy. A lot of Moment's Pieces. And multiple Spider Silks just makes it hard for them to deal with anything here. But you still go in, because even if you can't Timberwatch because of their Honor Guard, which is the Flag Bearer, then you can still attack in for damage. And your creatures just have so much toughness, they'll just bounce off the Honor Guard no matter what they choose to block. And again, this is one of those examples of where I'm trying to go with Well-Wisher to just lock down the board. Because if you can just gain an absurd amount of life with Well-Wisher, then you're probably just going to get there. I forget why I didn't play... Oh yeah, I didn't play Llanowar Elves because I'm anticipating Ghostly Flicker. And if they cast Ghostly Flicker, hitting Well-Wisher or something else, then it's going to be tougher for me to really come back because I'll need the Llanowar Elves just to kind of make sure I don't end up discarding the Well-Wisher. And basically what happens with this game is it turns into, kind of like a game of cat and mouse, and we just end up going back and forth against one another. And so they have the Ghostly Flicker lock. So at this point, I'm trying to... I know I pretty much lost. Here's the thing, though. Because of the board state and the way things are set up, they can't just, like, outright kill me. But I can likely just kind of deck them out. In the end, though, I just kind of decided just to get in there and get some damage. And just try and play out a lot of stuff so that way I'm not really having to discard like a whole hand of stuff. But I'm also trying to like dump out well-wishers and priests, because what that means then is they just end up having to flicker through and make me like discard a whole bunch of stuff. Now, as you can tell, their clock is going really low. And the good thing about these quick replays, though, is the fact that it's really helping kind of just breeze through this, the combo lock state that they've got. And doing this just lets me make sure I get in for damage. You know, obviously they can't do Moment's Peace like that, so it was just an effort to try and get in some of that extra damage. Hoping I can end up drawing towards Mob Justice. But they're because they're doing so much with the combo of Ghostly Flicker, Dinrova Horror, and Mnemonic Wall, it's really, really draining their clock. By attacking to force them to use the Moment's Peace, it's making them have to get back the Moment's Peace to be able to continue like their lock, while also just dropping all my creatures and all my elves, so that way I can keep forcing them to utilize their combo more. And the more they do that, the more time it drains away from the clock, and the more I can win just based on that. Cast Mystical Teachings for Pulse Marasa. Use Pulse Marasa. Couldn't tell there what they got back, but looks like the Seagate Oracle. Yeah. And this time they're trying to draw more cards. Now, in hindsight, playing against this list, it's probably almost better for me to have not attacked in with the vanguards. Simply because yeah, I could just blocked a bunch of their creatures. And since I'm down to one card, obviously them going to Dinrova Horror to try and get rid of my Well-Wisher in my hand is a little more possible that that's going to happen. My one out to that is definitely the Kieran Ranger. As a way to prevent the Dinrova Horror from taking your Well-Wisher, or whatever your last card is, you can just go Kieran Ranger and bounce a Forest back. Now, at this point, he's flashbacking Moments Pieces, so he's flashback 3 of them. I'm not sure if I even noticed that was happening, but definitely some action. But it's really pushing them to combo and dig deep. And they got the Crusher, but it's like at this point in the game, the Crusher almost doesn't matter. And even though they're threatening with an Olmog's Crusher, it's still the right play for me to just go in and swing out, because yes, they'll probably kill something with a Crusher, yes, they'll kill something with the Dinrova Horror, but in the end, I'll be left with such a huge, huge heavy board state that I can just keep going in and going in for the extra damage. Now, obviously, they're still trying to, like, flicker away a little bit, and they're doing that with a minute on their clock. And I'm not sure if they remembered that the Spider Silk grants reach, but it definitely helped a lot there. And at this point, they got the Mnemonic Wall Moments Peace lock, but they did it with 30 seconds on their clock. So I'm pretty much at this point forcing them to be able to use their combo, because they'll Moments Peace, and then they'll have to get the Moments Peace back again by flickering their Mnemonic Walls. And they're not going to have enough time to kill me. So in the end there, they just lost to the time. They lost to the clock. And whereas if this was probably like a real, I guess, like paper game of Magic, I probably would have just straight lost it and gone to game 3. But definitely one of those games. There's definitely going to be games where you have situations like this where honestly you probably shouldn't have won it, but you ended up winning it. There's going to be another one of those coming up. So yeah, that's round 2. 2-0.